How y'all doing? That's how it feels in my head all the time. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is CJ from CJ Reads, and we're YouTubing today. I'm gonna do like a little how have we been, what's going on, Sunny's news, and we're gonna transition into the end of the year book tag. So I hope that sounds fun. It's gonna be great. How we've been? Not great. We're not gonna lament on it. If you want to lament on it, I'll lament with you, but just not, there's nothing to say. So that's how that's been with the American electoral politics situation of it all. How we've been outside of that? Pretty good. I recently celebrated 10 years of my relationship with Kiki. We met 10 years ago on Halloween, and we threw a really big 10-year anniversary party. It was kind of an excuse to have all of our friends and family down. It was an excuse to like celebrate our marriage in general because we got married during the pandemic in 2020 and we just eloped in Vegas. And also I love Halloween and wanted to throw a big Halloween party, and that's what we did. It was very fun. It was very debaucherous. Kiki forgot his soda water. He's going to pick up groceries. And I feel very loved and special that so many friends made their way down here to come celebrate with us. So that was really fun and something that we worked on and planned a lot. We had a taco truck, we had karaoke. We hastily renovated the remaining parts of our house that needed to be renovated, most notably the outside area. So if you remember in videos of the past, we were demolishing kind of our side yard, which was just complete concrete. And that's fine for some people, but it was kind of sad. So we demolished it all up, put pavers in, put rock in, and built a stock tank pool. I'm probably posting pictures alongside of me right now. So that took a long time. It was crazy. Kiki did all of the work except for the building of the pool surround, and he shoveled 10 tons of rocks by himself, which was wild. And we were done literally the night before our party. So cutting it to the wire. But that's over. Our house is gorge, and again, I'm so happy I was able to spend time with my friends. Before that, I went to New York City for 5 or 6 days, and I did that because Bindery, the company I work for, the publishing startup, launched our fall 2024 books out into the world. So I had been working on them for over a year, each of these titles, doing the marketing for the titles and also the marketing for Bindery at large, working really closely with these debut authors and the tastemakers who acquired the books under their imprints. And it was the most joyful, happy, full circle celebratory time. People cried, people were so grateful, readers got to meet authors that they loved. It was really magical and a ton of fucking work. It's all I did for months leading up to it, is plan this giant 200-person party where our books were going to debut, right, in addition to supporting the books in these major marketing milestones along the way. So I love each of the authors and the tastemakers and the books dearly. I will never forget it. It was such an awesome, huge thing for us to pull off, and I'm really happy with everything that happened. So if you haven't read House of Frank by Kay Sinclair, a cozy fantasy set in a magical arboretum dealing with grief and loss, or Inferno's Heir by Tiffany Wong, a YA heist fantasy about a rebellious princess overthrowing evil dictators. If you haven't read And the Sky Bled by S. Hati, a climate fantasy following an heiress, a thief, and a slumlord as they race to find an extracted element called Kalar that is fueling the world. And if you haven't read Strange Beast by Susan J. Morris, where the worlds of Sherlock Holmes meet Dracula in a gothic puzzle box mystery with 2 sapphic love interest, I suggest you do if you're a fantasy or a genre reader. I wasn't any of those things before I started this job, but boy baby am I now. We'll maybe talk about that another day, but all fabulous books with people who worked really hard and loved those books into being. So that's where I'm at. A lot of big things happening, right? And in the midst of that, there's some Sunny stuff I want to fill you in on. Sunny's had the chance to move. So I was mentally preparing and emotionally preparing us to make a really big leap. I thought we were going to move still on Main Street, 1 door down, but have our own established storefront. It was going to be 2,500 square feet. It was going to have a huge backyard. It had wood floors, it had skylights, it's a beautiful historic building, but it did not work out. I mean, I'm not sad about this, one, because I met with the landlord and it wasn't a good fit, I'll leave it at that, but also our expenses for Sonny's would have increased by like 3x, you know? I think we could have pulled it off and hustled and thrown events and made the bookstore like go through this giant growth spurt, but I was kind of dreading it because I have a job and I'm tired already, and Sonny's is already a labor of love, and I didn't want it to just be labor no love, you know what I mean? So that didn't work out for a myriad of reasons, financial, and the space wasn't adequate. Like, the landlord was just wanted it to be run down and for us to make no changes whatsoever and not really care for the property. But I was like mentally preparing myself and running models of how that could work for the majority of the month and talking and negotiating with her. So that was a lot of wasted energy. And now I still think we're expanding. Essentially the place that we're in right now is like a mini mall, right? It's an interior corridor with like 10 little small businesses in them, including Sonny's. And our neighbor directly next to us, which was like a little antique store, they're moving. And my landlord has offered to knock down the wall that was between us and we can expand. So it's an additional around 400 square feet. And I'm still waiting on like the final word, so I don't want to jinx it or anything. I am openly talking about it to you and to everyone I know already, like it's happening, because I think it's the best move. But it's a great middle ground for Sonny's 2.0, Sonny's expansion vibes without as big of a risk. I've been running the numbers, and I think between inventory and new fixtures and just like miscellaneous stuff that I know we're gonna have to spend, it's probably still around like 10 grand of me putting shit on a credit card to have to fund. But I know we can pay that off because we've done it before, and it's going to offer a lot more room for things to sell, for people to gather, and for Sonny's to grow in a sustainable way where it's not like 10x right from the jump, you know? So I'm excited for that. And as you can see, the Christmas tree is up on November 11th because fuck it, we have something to live for. Those are my life updates. My reading's been slow, my brain's been slow. I feel like kind of disconnected from my life, but I kind of want to stay at home the next 2 months and like get back into it. You know what I mean? No travel, no big parties, no big events. I just need to stabilize a little. Let's get into the end of the year book tag, shall we? Every year I do this tag and I'm like, why do I do this tag? There has to be a better one, and there's still not. Question number 1, are there any books you started that you need to finish? I am marking Bright Unbearable Reality by Anna Bodkin as the book for this question. This is an essay collection that I've had on my nightstand for months. I read one essay from it and loved it, but it's just been lingering there, kind of haunting me, and I haven't had the pull to pick it up. I read a ton of essay collections, mostly on my Kindle though. It's like my nighttime medicine as I'm falling asleep. And I find if I don't have them on my Kindle, I don't want to read essay collections physically because it's so linked to bedtime reading in my brain. A weird me problem for sure, but I might try to see if the library has this. It's blurbed as being about like dislocation in this time where more people than ever are, I guess, distanced from the place that they originally come from. How does that affect us relating to one another, our sense of belonging, community building, etc.? I think there's an essay on the pandemic here. The one I read was about, God, what was it about? I think it was about war. And I think reading about humans relating to each other and resisting despair is interesting to me right now. So I do want to pick this back up. Question number 2, do you have an autumnal book to transition you through the end of the year? I actually did make a point of doing this year, and I read Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury, which is about an evil, sinister carnival. I didn't know that. I never knew that, you guys. If you're new here, I was raised on a traveling carnival. My family is carnies, and carnival and carnival culture is obviously very dear to my heart, and I love depictions of it if it's done well, i.e. the Night Circus, i.e. Geek Love, i.e. some other things I'm probably not thinking about, but I had no idea that this huge classic was about a carnival. I have never read any Ray Bradbury. I'm not an English major. I don't come from a family that reads classics. I never read in high school, whatever. There's all my caveats about why I haven't read Something Wicked This Way Comes. So this totally flew past me and I fucking loved it. It reads almost like an adventure story. It's these two young boys who only have each other and they're kind of trying to get out of this macabre grip that the sinister carnival has on them. And the writing on the line level is insane. It's beautiful. It was so poetic and flourishy and bizarre, kind of like otherworldly. I really liked it and I want to watch the movie now. That's my next plan. I don't know if I'm gonna read more Ray Bradbury. I have no desire to read Fahrenheit 451, but if I should, let me know. Maybe I'll become a Ray Bradbury head. Is there a new release you're still waiting for? I'm recording this on November 11th, so there's some slim pickings on what's to come for the rest of the year. A lot of stuff doesn't really come out in November and December for good reason. It's late in the publishing cycle. But a few things I listed, which one is in November, American Bulk by Emily Mester. I've actually already read this, but I am shamelessly plugging my book club. This is the book club pick for December. It's an essay collection on consumption, Americanism, has really personal, memoiristic lens throughout all of those larger topics. It has an insane, like she was burrowed inside my brain when she wrote this essay about Olive Garden and class and coolness and what it means to have comfort in the format of an American chain restaurant. I loved it. I highly recommend it. It's gonna be like my new essay collection I'm as annoying about as I was Death by Landscape. So please pick it up. Please order it through Sunny's. Why not? You will get a signed book plate by the author and a sticker. So that's fabulous. The other book I'm looking forward to, I think, is early 2025. She's Always Hungry by Eliza Clark. This is Eliza Clark's story collection debut. She wrote Boy Parts, which I really loved. She wrote Penance, which I have not read, but I've heard it's fabulous. And I can see her wicked little brain working really well in a short story format. So I'm excited to get to those. And I love the consistency of her covers. I really appreciate when authors do this. They kind of stick to their branding lane if it's good. And then lastly, I'm excited to read Audition by Katie Kitamura. Why? I don't know. The other two Katie Kitamura books that I've read, I didn't really like that much, but I am still excited to read this. I know Jalen has read it and liked it, and that's enough for me. You know what I mean? Whatever Jalen says, I listen to. There are 3 books you want to read by the end of the year. I, again, speaking of Jalen, really want to read Rejection by Tony, not gonna attempt to pronounce that last name, by Tony something. He specifically told me to read this, which always means a ton when it comes from your most trusted book friends, right? So I have to get it. I have it at the bookstore and it hasn't sold yet, so I might just take that copy home. I think it's experimental short fiction disguised as a novel, kind of incel point of view, unlikable male narrator. Maybe kind of annoying in these times, but I think it could be cathartic and interesting to read at the same time. So I'm really looking forward to that. I want to read The Hypocrite by Jo Hamya. I really loved 3 Rooms by her. An underrated book. It kind of got panned critically, I think, but I really enjoyed my time with it. I have no idea what this book is about, but again, I carry it at Sunny's and I bought it and it hasn't sold yet, so it might come home with me. And lastly, I want to read Cactus Country, which is a memoir set in Tucson, Arizona about queerness, about growing up in a trailer park, about desert landscapes, and all of those things are a ding 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 for me. So that sounds great. Again, I haven't been in the mood to read a memoir for some reason, but I feel like that would be the one to get me back into them. Is there a book that could still shock you and become a favorite of the year? I think maybe Rejection, and I'm going off that just because of Jalen. I have no idea what my like plans are, what I'm actually going to be able to read for the rest of the year. There's obviously the holiday break coming up. I have a week off between Christmas and New Year's, which I hope to read within, and then Thanksgiving as well. So hopefully that will result in some reading getting done. But I'm still reading The Most by Jessica Anthony right now for the Sunnies book club, and I'm 2 chapters in and I'm loving that too. It reminds me of Mrs. Caliban by Rachel Inglis, and maybe what else is about marriage that I've read that reminds, maybe that's it, maybe that's all it reminds me of right now. But really bizarre book about the duty of motherhood and marriage and the confines it leads you in, and a woman who will not get out of a pool as a result. I haven't read her in the pool yet. I'm just kind of in the husband and the wife's inner monologue right now, but I'm loving the writing, and it's a shorty, so I think it could be succinct enough to weasel its way into my top 10 of the year. You've started making reading plans for 2025. That's interesting. No. I would love to read another Toni Morrison in 2025. I don't know which one. Maybe Tar Baby, maybe Jazz. I am not saying I would love to reread anything anymore because it never happens. It's not who I am, so that's a false wish of my own. One like reading project I have is continuing reading what I'm calling for my Florida project, which is just memoirs, and which is basically just memoirs about hard living, I'm calling it, bad childhoods, and anything that's like the Florida Project. If you've seen that movie and you have a book comparison to it, I will add it to my list. That's like 20 books long, but I haven't been in a memoir state of mind for some reason. Another reading adjacent project is that when Sunnies expands, I'm going to start like a little free lending library. So it's not to be given away, it's to bring back to Sunnies, and I want it to be like community generated and about organizing and mutual aid and all of the good things that we're going to need for the next 4 years, right? So that'll be interesting. I've never operated a library system before. If you have something or any advice to give me that you have, let me know. I might reach out to some people I know from Portland who do like a street library for houseless people, and what kind of system that they have in place for like check-ins and check-outs. I want it to be like pretty loose and no pressure and on your own timeline, and just like come back with it when you remember to kind of vibe. But any guidance would be helpful if you have any about lending library projects in the past. That's it. Those are all the questions. That's me. I just kind of wanted to break my my YouTube silence. Another YouTube thing, if you have noticed that the Sunnies book club discussions are no longer on the channel, they all still are, they're just unlisted. So if you go to sunniesbooktruck.com and go to our book club page, down at the bottom where it says like previous book club discussions, they're all uploaded there, so you just have to click in. I just did that because I don't know, like I would get like 500 views on some of those book club discussions, which is cool, but I was like, who are these people? Like, the book club feels so personal to me. I'm like, I want you to work a little bit harder to come across the discussions we're having if I don't know you, you know what I mean? So those are where those live now. Not that I think you're yearning to listen to us yap for an hour, but if you are, there they are. It's like a podcast, you know? Okay, hope you're well. Take care of each other. Be safe. Love you. Mean it. Bye.